Hi, I'm Jim Mullin. I am captain of the Glengarry Light Infantry, Macdonnell's company in Glengarry County.
Glengarry County. So, what part of Ontario is that?
Well, that's pretty much where Ontario begins, probably as far east as you could go before you hit the Quebec border.
All right, so we're talking Eastern Ontario, and then why Glengarry? There's a distinct Gaelic nature to this part of the world. So,
Pretty much, yes. Well, we were pretty much predominantly settled by Scottish settlers that came over from Scotland with the hand of Father Alexander Macdonnell, who was later became the first Catholic bishop of Upper Canada, and he was in charge of the St. Raphael's parish. And back in those days, the clergy, they pretty much knew everything. They knew a lot of advanced news and knowledge about what the Americans could be doing, and there was an actual potential threat of the Americans declaring war on Britain. So, being the fact that they lost a lot of their lands with the Highland clearances of northern Scotland, and they are now fully settled and are now friends with the British in Upper Canada, they felt that it was paramount that they try to protect their homes and livelihoods. So by raising a regiment seemed to be the best thing to do. And Alexander Macdonnell was also known as uh, the warrior bishop because of that, because of his background with the first Glengarry uh, Lights in Scotland, and then recreating the Glengarry Light Infantry right here in Glengarry County.
all right, and then I want to call it Saint Raphael. You call it Saint Raphael's. Yeah,
Yes.
and then you've called that the birthplace of the Glengarry Light Infantry. Why is that?
Well, that was where Father Macdonnell had his home, and his home still stands today. And that was where we started. He was involved in the Glengarry militia in the early days. After Mass, he would close the doors of the church and would refuse to allow people to leave until they signed up and they actually drilled. So they had drilling, they would always have drill after Sunday Mass in St. Raphael's.
So during the War of 1812, a lot of militia units, the local lads, gave military service, but the Glengarrys are a little bit different in being a fencible regiment. Can you
Yeah,
describe what that meant?
well, yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of British troops in this region. Of course, we're not too far from Montreal, but in the interior along the waterway, and our, just like today, our boundary is quite broad and extensive. The same went with back in that era as well.
Yeah.
So they needed additional troops to help, boost numbers and to help protect Upper and Lower Canada from invasion. A big point, a strategic point for the Americans was to attack Montreal. And had they done that, they would have cut the supply chain to Niagara and to York. And by doing so, it would then, stop the supply movement. So it was very important to raise additional troops, and by doing so, the people that lived here, the first and second generation of Glengarrians, was the right way to do it.
Awesome. So then, also, as I understand it, a fencible regiment, they were full-time soldiers, weren't they?
Yes, they were,
Okay,
and a lot of
as opposed to like a regular militia, they just get called up when
yeah,
there was a pressing need, then they would go back to their farms and lives. But to be offensible, they needed more troops, so they wanted to drill up and better train
correct,
Canadian soldiers.
correct.
Yeah.
And the attraction was to better their lives. The opportunity of a potential land grant was part of it. And as well, you had a lot of families that take a lot of pride in their heritage, and by doing so, it was easy for a lot of them to join, and it was attractive. Um, Yeah, a lot of the land grants of the Glengarrys, good majority of them settled around Perth, Ontario.
So then, why don't we wrap up? You tell me, we're at an event at a special site. Where are we, and why are we here?
Well, we're at the heart of Glengarry County. Well, I call it the heart, but the northern element of North Glengarry County. Um, we've been doing this event for 15 years. We do a War of 1812 weekend where we teach locals, and we're actually smack dab in the middle of Ottawa and Montreal. So it's a perfect location to teach and educate and encourage people to come and learn about the War of 1812 era of history, as well as to help us embrace our military heritage. Uh, my unit, or the Glengarry Light Infantry, is the ancestral unit of the Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry Highlanders out of Cornwall, Ontario. So there's a lot of strong Scottish and military heritage here. So this is like a perfect venue to do what we do.
And the venue is the Glengarry Pioneer Museum in Dunvegan, Ontario.
That is correct.
All right. Thanks so much, Jim. Really appreciate
Thank you.
this.